Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Dr. Polyglot, and today's episode is a little different and a lot more serious. My friend Maya is here with me, and we're going to tell you a true story about something that happened to us a few weeks ago. We were having a picnic in the woods, and Maya had an accident. Don't worry, she's totally fine now. But we thought it would be a great way to teach you some natural English that people use in emergencies. Maya, say hi.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, this was definitely not how I planned to spend my Saturday.
Right? So before we jump into the story, let's set the scene. We're walking through the woods. It's a beautiful day. We've got sandwiches. We've got a blanket. And then, Maya, what happened?
Okay, so we were walking down this little hill to find a good spot, and there were a bunch of rocks and roots on the ground. I wasn't really looking down, I was looking at the view, and I just slipped.
Yeah, I heard you before I saw you. I heard a pop, and then you were on the ground.
I heard it too. It was so loud, like a snap. And honestly, in that moment, I knew something was wrong.
Okay, let's pause here for our listeners. This is a really useful phrase. I heard a pop or I heard a snap. Native speakers say this all the time when something in the body, a joint, a bone, makes a sudden sound during an injury. You don't need fancy medical words, just I heard a pop. Simple, natural, and everyone understands exactly what you mean.
And it's scary because you know that sound usually means something bad.
Totally. So I run over to you, and what's the first thing you said to me?
I think I broke something.
I think I broke something. Another perfect phrase. Notice she didn't say, I have fractured my tibia. Nobody talks like that in real life unless they're a doctor. In a real emergency, people speak simply and directly. I think I broke something tells me everything I need to know.
And then you asked me where it hurt.
I did, and you said...
It hurts when I put weight on it. Because I tried to stand up, and the second I put my foot down, the pain was unbelievable.
It hurts when I put weight on it. This is such a useful sentence, especially for leg, ankle, or foot injuries. Putting weight on it means standing on it, pressing down on it with your body weight. So if your arm hurts when you lift something, you could say, it hurts when I put weight on it too, actually. That phrase works for arms if you're leaning on something.
Right. And then I tried to take a step, and I just couldn't.
What did you say?
I can't move my ankle. Just like that. Simple.
I can't move my ankle. You can swap ankle for any body part. I can't move my arm. I can't move my fingers. I can't move my neck. This sentence structure is gold for any of you learning English. I can't move plus my plus body part. Easy to remember, and you'll need it more often than you'd think, not just in emergencies, but maybe after a workout or when you wake up with a stiff neck.
So true.
Okay, so at this point, I knew this wasn't something we could just walk off. I told you, I'm calling 911, and I made the call. Let's listen to what that conversation sounded like.
911, what's your emergency?
Hi, my friend fell while we were hiking, and I think she broke her ankle. We're in Riverside Park, near the East Trail.
Okay, is she conscious and breathing?
Yes, she's awake and talking to me.
Good. An ambulance is on the way. Can you stay on the line and tell me how she's doing?
Yes, of course.
All right, let's break that down for our listeners. When you call for emergency help in the U.S., you dial 911. That's 911, said one number at a time, not 911. The operator usually asks two key questions early on. Is she conscious, meaning is she awake, and is she breathing? These are standard questions, so it's good to know them in advance.
And while you were on the phone, I was just sitting there trying not to panic.
Yeah, and once I hung up, I turned back to you and asked how you were feeling because we had about 10 minutes to wait for the ambulance, and I wanted to keep you talking and calm. So tell our listeners, what were you feeling in that moment?
I felt dizzy, actually, at one point, probably from the shock and the pain.
I feel dizzy. Great phrase. Very common when someone's in pain or in shock. It means the world feels like it's spinning a little or you feel unsteady.
And then I looked down at my ankle and it was already swelling up.
What did you say at that moment?
It's swelling up fast. And it really was. Within a few minutes, it looked twice the size.
It's swelling up fast. To swell up means the area gets bigger because of fluid building up under the skin, usually after an injury. You'll hear this with insect bites too. My arm swelled up after the bee sting.
Then you asked me to rate the pain.
I did. I asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? This is something doctors and paramedics ask all the time in the U.S., so it's worth remembering both sides, how to ask it and how to answer it.
And I said, it's like an 8, because honestly, it was really bad.
It's like an 8.
And then I asked you something too. I asked, do I need an x-ray?
Right. And I told you I wasn't sure, but the paramedics would probably check. Do I need an x-ray is such a practical question for anyone traveling or living abroad. If you ever hurt yourself, you'll want this exact phrase ready to go.
While we were waiting, my ankle started throbbing.
Throbbing is a great word. It means a repeated, pulsing pain, like your heartbeat is happening inside the injury. You could say, it's throbbing, or my head is throbbing if you have a bad headache.
And I remember saying, I can barely put pressure on it when you suggested I try to shift position.
I can barely put pressure on it means it's extremely difficult, almost impossible. Barely is a word meaning almost not at all, so useful in everyday English, not just in emergencies. I can barely hear you. I can barely stay awake. Same structure.
Then finally, we heard the siren.
The paramedics showed up and one of them knelt down next to you and asked some quick questions. Do you remember what she asked?
She asked, can you tell me what happened? And I told her I slipped and twisted my ankle on the trail.
I slipped and twisted my ankle. This is the perfect short summary sentence. When something happens fast, people don't give long explanations. They give the short version first. What happened in one sentence?
Then she checked my foot and asked if I had feeling in my toes, and I actually said I lost feeling in my toes for a second, because right after the fall, it felt numb.
I lost feeling in my toes, meaning you couldn't feel them. They were numb. This is something paramedics always check, because it can mean there's pressure on a nerve or blood vessel.
And then she looked at it and said it might be dislocated, not broken.
I think it's dislocated, meaning the bone has moved out of its normal position at the joint, but it isn't necessarily broken. Different injury, similar feeling.
And honestly, by that point, I was just relieved someone professional was there.
Same. And before they put you on the stretcher, they put a brace on it and asked one more thing. Do you remember?
They asked when my last tetanus shot was, because I had a small cut too, from the rocks.
I haven't had a tetanus shot in years. That was your answer, right?
Exactly. And they said we'd take care of that at the hospital, just to be safe.
So to wrap up the story, it turned out it wasn't broken. It was a bad sprain and a small dislocation, and Maya was in a boot for about 3 weeks.
3 very boring weeks of sitting on the couch. Yes.
But she's all better now, walking, hiking again, probably more carefully.
Definitely more carefully.
Okay, let's do a quick recap for our listeners before we go, because I want you to walk away from this episode with phrases you can actually use. Here are some of the key expressions from today.
I heard a pop. I think I broke something. It hurts when I put weight on it. I can't move my ankle. I feel dizzy. It's swelling up fast. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's like an 8. Do I need an X-ray? It's throbbing. I can barely put pressure on it. I slipped and twisted my ankle. I lost feeling in my toes. I think it's dislocated. I haven't had a tetanus shot in years.
That's a lot of useful phrases for one accident.
Right? Hopefully none of you ever need to use them, but if you do, now you'll sound completely natural.
And if you're ever in the U.S. and something happens, remember 911, said one number at a time, and stay calm. Help is on the way.
Great advice. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Maya.
Thanks for having me, and for calling 911 so fast.
Anytime. And to all of you listening, practice these phrases out loud, even if you've never had an accident. The more you say them, the more naturally they'll come out when you actually need them. That's it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this story, like this video and subscribe to our channel. Bye, everyone.
Bye!